Hi, I'm KB with Nerdophiles. How are you?
Hi KB, I'm great. We're still finishing the show here in New York. We're working on visual effects and it's all very exciting. May 2nd. It's very soon.
I know it's coming so soon. And first, let me just say I am really into season three and all of the complex layers that we get to see with Iris. So you have a really unique position of being both the writer and the director. So, that vision that you have on paper, you can really execute on screen. So tell me a little bit about your process creatively doing both.
Like you describe it, it's a really unique, wonderful position to be in, and I just jumped right in and embraced it all. And it's a really wonderful way to shape a narrative when you have 10 episodes and you can treat it like one giant indie feature because you have one DP, one editor, one director, in this case me, and it's just there is I think a collaboration that enables a particular cohesiveness and tone and style that I think is really unique to this franchise.
Yeah. And, I can say that this season is shot so well and so beautifully. And I always say you can always tell when a woman directs, especially when we're doing pieces on sex work, just because I always feel like there's a deliberate consideration of a woman's perspective and kind of touch when it comes to that particular gaze. So, can you talk a little bit about kind of just maintaining a woman's perspective and a woman's touch as directing kind of this intricate lifestyle of sex work on screen?
Yeah, as you say, I think point of view is tremendously important, and I try to have a good balance on set between different people, male, female, and everything in between, so that we need to kind of have a good balance because Julia, who plays Iris, interacts with mostly male scene partners in the intimate scenes, and so it was important to have a sort of a safe space around all of that. And the DP Zachary Geller, myself, and also Julia, of course, we had a vision early on that this would be in keeping with a franchise, that it would never be in any kind of way objectifying our lead actress, but it would be the camera work and the design of the scenes would enable the audience to follow her point of view and understand what she is seeing as she enters these complex situations with clients, so that the you know like Iris's um aim as she works as a girlfriend at night, it's there is an end game that she brings to the table because she's studying her clients for behavioral data to then shuttle it back to the tech world where she has her day job at this elusive, secretive AI startup. So to enable that perspective, it was important that the camera work would always um, give her the point of view as the lead
Yes.
character.
Yes. And so switching gears a little bit to the writing, because I do think what's intriguing about this season is how Cassie's worlds are truly converging. And she is really interested in kind of those behavioral aspects of life. So, kind of, well, Iris slash Cassie. So as Cassie is kind of, being, making sure that her clients are kind of getting what they desire, who do you think that Iris is really fundamentally? Like, who does she want to be? And, kind of how does she really discover that over the course of this season? Because she's so interested in this work and, she's given up a lot. She's given up her education to move to London and kind of start fresh. But it's so interesting to me, the dichotomy of kind of both worlds and how they converge. So, yeah, talk a little bit about who Iris really is, who we get to see who she is this season, and how kind of stepping into the role of Cassie really helps kind of her figure out and shape who she wants to be this season.
I think you're touching upon the core sort of character theme for Iris in this season, because we do meet her as someone who is tremendously insightful at reading people and um, is very smart at figuring out what she thinks people want in any given situation, and then she applies that to the tech world. And I think all of it becomes almost like a laboratory for studying human behavior and for her ultimately to understand her own desires and motivations in it. And she's someone who is tremendously brave. She does a radical reboot by coming to London and leaving behind her life in the US. And as the season progresses, we learn more about why that happens and how that ties in with her Achilles heel, and how she's very vulnerable to sort of larger forces that she has no control over. And I can't give it away right now, how it exactly all comes together. But I'll say that she, in the course of the season, will watch her go further down the rabbit hole of exploring sort of the boundary between human behavior and tech simulation of it. And she'll, in the process of that, she'll kind of test the boundaries of her own self and what it means to be Iris. So we'll see her do a lot more transformation as the season continues.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I feel like Iris is actually like in a lot of scenarios the smartest person in the room. And so when she goes to this tech company, she's able to offer them something that they've never seen before. And I'm always curious because I'm like, and the wheels are just turning in my head, and I know you can't spoil anything, but I'm like, she could really take over this company. Like in my mind, I'm like, Iris could really go all of the way and take over kind of this tech company if she really, wanted to, and really kind of allowed herself to, in some ways, because they need her, and she's really put herself in a position where, she's invaluable, essentially. So
yeah, I think the collaboration with her coworker Hiram, and then as they push boundaries together, Iris really brings to the table what is uniquely her in sort of her insight into human behavior. And then the AI side of it has a lot more complexities to it that she's also learning as she goes through the story. And that was actually a really great journey creatively as well for Julia and myself to sort of immerse ourselves in the AI intricacies. We had consultants on the show, and hopefully people who work in the field will be able to enjoy the show and feel like we did a good enough job representing their field. But yeah, I'm excited for the tech angle to kind of take flight, and for audiences, I'm very curious to see how audiences feel about it, because it is a new flavor for the franchise.
It is, and it's so detailed, so intricate, and I think that you guys are knocking it out of the park thus far. I have not seen the full season, but it is so good and so intriguing. So just creatively as a writer, how do you balance writing for a character like Iris? Because there's a layer of mystery that needs to be maintained. She's also brilliant, but she has a lot of heart. She's dealing with her father's illness, and so there's just a lot of different layers to her. So to be able to pull that out, and I will say that she's doing an incredible job, because essentially she has to play like multiple characters every episode, it almost feels
Absolutely.
like. So, how is that kind of writing for that structure?
Yeah, it's sort of the writing and the editing are sort of two ends of the same idea, right? So we had a lot of fun with it in the edit room as well. I mean, mostly the structure was pretty intact from what was on the page, but I think getting that balance right and giving the audience just enough so that they feel like they have a way to understand what's driving her without giving away too much of the larger sort of world that starts to form around her and this tech project that they're working on. That was a really intricate balance, and I think it came down to the tone as well, because we do have grounded naturalistic performances, and we believe that Iris is doing what she's doing at the same time. It's also completely insane, and it's this elusive thing that is very hard to pin down and very future facing, and we're like, no, this can't be real, but it is. So I think getting that tone right was in the writing, but also in everything else, in the images and the set design, the costumes, the editing, the visual effects. So I'm excited for it to be shown to the world.
Yes. So, my last question really is just like, I am absolutely blown away by, kind of the level of creative control that you have on this project. I think it's absolutely wonderful. So, what will you take away from this project that will help empower you in future jobs?
I consider myself incredibly lucky that I got the phone call in the first place to step into these amazing shoes that had been created around the franchise. I mean, Steven Soderbergh, obviously, as the captain of it, all based on his independent film, and then this unique television show that has every season is so unique and different. And Lodge Kerrigan and Amy Simons, who started it all and created the franchise, they have done such unique work with the first two seasons. So it was incredibly empowering for me to, continue with it, but also bring my own flavor to it. So I've gotten the most generous sort of freedom from both Steven Soderbergh and the network Starz, and I hope it shows in a way that there is a sort of uniqueness to this franchise, and season 3 hopefully is a worthy next chapter.
Well, I think so. And just thank you so much for taking time to chat with Nerdophiles. Really appreciate it. Really loving the season so far and cannot wait to see where it goes. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, KB. I thank you for having me, and
Yes.
excited for you to see the second half of it.
Yes.